In Lesson 3-6, we're going to be talking about how to compare and how to order fractions. So, how can we compare them? There are three ways that we can compare them. One of them is to find common denominators, because if their denominators are all the same, then all you need to do is compare their numerators like their whole numbers. And that's pretty easy. We'll look at an example of each way in just a moment. The second way is to cross multiply. In other words, you multiply the numerator by the denominator on its diagonal. Okay? And you compare the two products, and whichever product is larger, then that same fraction is larger. And our third way to do it is to change the fractions to decimals. We do that with a calculator. So actually divide it and then compare the decimals. Whichever fraction has a larger decimal also has a larger fraction. So let's look at some examples. Here we want to compare, so that means using less than, greater than, or equal to, these three fractions: 2/3, 3/4, and 7/12. The least common denominator of these three would be 12. So we're going to write equivalent fractions. So 2/3 in 12ths, since 3 times 4 would give you 12, we need to do 2 times 4 to give me an equivalent, and we would get 8. 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. That's my equivalent. And this one already has 12 as a denominator, so I don't need to change it. Now, once they have the same denominators, I just compare the numerators like their whole numbers. So 7 would be less than 8, which would be less than 9. So 7/12 is less than 8/12, which is less than 9/12. And when you write your answer, if you change the denominators like that, you do need to write them from the original numbers. So since 7/12 was the smallest, that goes first. 8/12 was next, and that was 2/3. That was our first one. So we put less than 2/3, and then 9/12 was the biggest, and so that it was equivalent to 3/4. Now let's look at another way. Another way to do it is to cross multiply. So you multiply the two that are diagonal from each other, 7 times 10 and 8 times 9. The trick on this is you have to make sure that the product of the diagonal goes on the side where the numerator is. So if you're doing 8 times 9, you can't put that answer on the left. You need to put it on the right because that's where the numerator is. So 7 times 10 would be 70. 8 times 9 would be 72. And since 70 is less than 72, that means that 7/8 is less than 9/10. Okay? The third way to do this is to change them into decimals. So if we had 4/10 and 3/8, we would divide them. 4 divided by 10 is 0.4. 3 divided by 8 is 0.375. And 4/10 is larger. So 4/10 is larger. All right. We're going to practice some of these.